Welcome back, everybody, to Niners Now. I'm your host, Brady Grustas, at GrustasBrady on X. You can follow me there. And today, I want to do a deep dive into the entire Brandon Aiyuk situation, discuss where it might have gone wrong, and talk about what the plan actually is for him. And of course, stick around until later in the show because the 49ers are likely going to need some wide receiver help with all of this going down. And I've got some options who I really quite like. But of course, before we begin, go ahead and subscribe down below. The support has been awesome so far. I really appreciate it, you guys. So please go ahead, subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and let's get into it. So first off, we have to travel back to the offseason after the Super Bowl loss against Kansas City, the overtime loss with Brock Purdy. Brandon Aiyuk open in the end zone in overtime, but Spencer Burford blows the block on Chris Jones. Purdy doesn't have enough time to throw it to Aiyuk. 49ers end up losing the football game. Immediately after that game, Brandon Aiyuk and members of his family get on social media and start talking crazy about how he didn't get enough targets and how he wasn't used right and this and this and that, right? So this entire offseason, he's expecting a contract. He's up for a contract. He's eligible for an extension. And it seems like the 49ers are absolutely willing to get it done. He was an All-Pro the previous season, second-team All-Pro. He was fantastic. The 49ers' best wide receiver pretty comfortably. But this contract talk starts to take a little while, right? It really starts to drag into the summer. There's trade conversations. He does not get traded at the draft. There were talks about him maybe being moved, but he does not get traded at the draft. And then it drags into the summer and it drags into training camp, and he starts to miss training camp and he starts to miss OTAs and the like. And it keeps dragging all the way into August of 2024. And now trade rumors are really back up once again, because at this point, we're trading picks for the 2025 draft for Aiyuk to go play on a different team, right? It is rumored that there's plenty of teams involved. Notably, the Browns, the Patriots, and the Steelers are three teams who keep circling around Brandon Aiyuk, the Steelers especially. And it's reported that Brandon Aiyuk declined not only a trade, but an extension with the New England Patriots. It's widely reported that that extension with the Patriots would have given him $32 million per year, which is more money than he ended up getting from the Niners, because he didn't like the quarterback options. Now, the Patriots had just drafted Drake May, third overall. He had not played a single snap in the NFL yet. But Aiyuk did not accept that trade offer. He did not want to go to New England. He did not accept the contract there. So New England was out of the race, pretty much. And it was down to the Browns and the Steelers, although there was a lot of public chatter between him and the new Washington Commander quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who he played with in college. No surprise, Aiyuk wanted to play with his former quarterback. Him and Daniels are very close. And if the 49ers do move on from Aiyuk, I have to imagine he'll end up in Washington. So Washington with Adam Peters at the helm, nothing really materialized there. Nothing really materialized with the Patriots. And it was down to the Browns and the Steelers in the same division. Both wanted Brandon Aiyuk. There was a trade that fell through where the Browns would be sending, I believe, a second-round pick and Amari Cooper, or maybe it was a third-round pick and Amari Cooper. The details were never officially released to the public, but Amari Cooper was certainly involved in the trade. I remember he posted on his Instagram story once that rumor got out, and he was basically saying he wouldn't mind being in San Francisco whatsoever. That trade unfortunately fell through as well. We don't know if it was the 49ers who declined that deal, Brandon Aiyuk who declined that deal. I have to imagine it was probably Aiyuk. If he didn't like the Patriots quarterback options back then, I don't know what he thought of the Browns quarterback options. Even worse. Kind of lucky that the Niners didn't make that move. Amari Cooper was coming off a pretty good year for the Browns, but since then he has been absent, to say the least. Spent some time with the Bills after a midseason trade. Wasn't very effective there. Then signed with the Raiders this offseason, present day, and retired before week one even got here. So that would have been not a great trade for San Francisco if that one had gone through. Pretty lucky there. But then the Steelers. Apparently, the Steelers trade was agreed upon. It was going to be a second-round pick for Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk was a fan, But Kyle Shanahan was the one to shut down that trade. There's a story, not sure how true it is, but there is a story of Shanahan running upstairs when he heard the news to stop the trade from going through. So there's 3 trade offers, right? 2 of them presumably declined by Brandon Aiyuk. 1 declined by Kyle Shanahan. So Aiyuk doesn't get moved. And what happens is eventually he gets the 4-year, $120 million contract from San Francisco, $30 million a season. Pretty good market value. It's a lot of money, but it's not, I wouldn't have called it an overpay. In fact, I didn't call it an overpay at the time. I thought that was fair value for Brandon Aiyuk. Now, the contract is signed, so everything's good, right? We could stop talking about trades? No, not even close. Because now, this deal was signed in late August, and Brandon Aiyuk has missed so much of the offseason that he's behind, right? He's just not in football shape. And we've seen this before with other contract extensions for the 49ers. It takes a while to get in football shape, and Aiyuk was not ready week 1. There were drops, there were bad plays. He clearly was not himself to start 2024. And neither was the rest of the 49ers. They were 3-3 after their first 6 weeks. And finally, Brandon Aiyuk balls out in week 7 against the Arizona Cardinals. The 49ers lose that game, but Brandon Aiyuk goes crazy, over 100 yards. He's back, right? Finally back. We're so happy to see it. And then the next week, the 49ers get the win against the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. So 2 very promising weeks in a row. 49ers are 4-4. Brandon Aiyuk looks like himself again. And just in time, because they're about to play the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs. And in that Chiefs game, the following week, Brandon Aiyuk destroys his knee. The ACL, the MCL, the meniscus, all completely torn. Absolutely terrible injury. You could tell as soon as he went down that this one was really serious. And that could be his final game as a 49er. We don't know yet. Obviously, there's a lot still up in the air. But that was the last time we saw him on the football field for San Francisco. It's been a little over a year since that injury. I believe it was mid-November or maybe early November when that injury happened. We're now in late November of the following year. But it makes sense. Tearing 3 ligaments in your knee, it's a lot of rehab. It's going to take about a year. We've just passed that year mark. And then since the injury, things have also been weird, right? There's been reports, this offseason of him being, quote unquote, like a coach in meetings during training camp. That's during the summer. And yet, the guarantees in his contract were voided because he, quote, wasn't fulfilling contract obligations. And this happened in July. So if he's in meetings and he's like a coach in the meetings during training camp, but he wasn't fulfilling his contract obligations, was it something from the prior season? Was it something from 2024? Was it something in OTAs? He was supposed to be in OTAs or something? Was he missing rehab? Was he electing to rehab somewhere else? That's been an issue before with the team. Jimmy Garoppolo notably wanted to rehab in Los Angeles. We don't know. We don't know why Aiyuk's guarantees were voided. Richard Sherman actually said on his podcast that he does know, but he of course didn't get into the details of it. He said he has some inside information, so this whole situation wasn't super shocking to him. Man, what I would give to find out what this situation really stems from with the 49ers and with Aiyuk. But then we move on, right? We get into the preseason in August, and Aiyuk is super visible. He is running routes on the field before preseason games. That Raiders game especially, there were clips of him all over the place. And then all of a sudden he disappears. Something happened between that Raiders preseason game and right now, because the 49ers are reportedly frustrated with the lack of communication from Brandon Aiyuk. Shanahan came out and said just as much. He said, you know what, I haven't really talked to Aiyuk very much. Ricky Pearsall says Aiyuk's a quiet guy. It's hard to get him to open up if he doesn't want to. Aiyuk's gone. Aiyuk is absent. He is not with the team right now, pretty obviously. And everyone's being pretty diplomatic about it, but it's very clear that Aiyuk is either ghosting the team or he's just nowhere to be found. And, Kyle, he has said that there's still a chance Aiyuk plays this year. And the fact that the guarantees were voided back in July, that actually does make me kind of believe him a little bit, right? Because it's the kind of thing where Shanahan's talking about, what happened over the summer, that doesn't change my relationship with him. And I do believe that. But there were beat reporters saying that if it wasn't for this injury, the 49ers would have tried to trade Aiyuk over the summer. So it does seem like the kind of thing where since that summer, the Niners knew, all right, it's time to move on from Brandon Aiyuk. But I do believe that they want him to play. And I believe that it is Aiyuk who is electing to not play. I think Aiyuk is the reason that we have not seen him yet so far this year. And I'm not sure if I buy that he will play because, it is up to him. If he doesn't want to, he's not going to. I sure hope he does, though, because if Aiyuk wants to go somewhere else, then he should get on the field and show that he's healthy. He should show that he's still an NFL caliber wide receiver. He tore 3 ligaments in his knee. That's a big deal. It's a big injury. Richard Sherman said this as well on his podcast. Aiyuk not playing does not help anybody. It doesn't help the 49ers. Doesn't help Brandon Aiyuk, and it doesn't help any teams who are interested in him, right? But Brandon Aiyuk playing does help at least a little bit. It shows that Brandon Aiyuk is healthy and can play. It helps the 49ers because it would help with their trade compensation and just help them to have another good wide receiver on the football field. And, the only risk is that you don't want him to get injured again, right? But if you're just worried about him never getting, if you're never going to play him because you're always worried he's going to get hurt, then what's the point? Just retire, right? It's just very strange. It's very strange. And it's clear he doesn't want to be a 49er anymore. He gave up $25 million in guaranteed money just for the chance to leave San Francisco. And good riddance, right? If he's ghosting the team and if he's completely bought out and he doesn't want to be here, then goodbye. It's time to leave. The 49ers, they're a team that really thrives on locker room synergy, right? And locker room culture and guys wanting to be here. So if you don't want to be here, get out. Trade Aiyuk or cut him. He's got to go. And it's such a shame. It'll always be a massive what-if scenario for the 49ers. He was one of my favorite players for his entire tenure here. And if this is how it ends, that would be very sad. I am not looking forward to this eventual divorce from the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk. But of course, I'm sure we'll hear more about this as the year goes along. We'll hear more about this heading into the end of the season. But we've got to remember, 49ers have been able to be in a playoff position without him this year. So who's to say they can't do it again going forward? Now, I will say, wide receiver has been one of the weakest position groups on the team so far in 2025, partially because of Aiyuk, partially because of this Ricky Pearsall injury, partially because of Juwan Jennings' whole thing, partially because of the Kendrick Bourne experiment, right? The 49ers are going to need wide receiver help. It's pretty confident in saying that. You could argue it's been the worst position group on the team, either that or safety, but I don't know if you guys watched that Carolina Panthers game. Safeties were playing pretty darn good against the Panthers. So we'll give the nod to the wide receiver group for now. Ricky Pearsall, he's a good player, right? But he's got 2 injuries in 2 seasons. It's never where you want to be. Juwan Jennings is really starting to come back into form. He's getting healthy. He's playing well again, but he's a free agent at the end of this year, and nobody else on the roster has proved really anything at all. So I've got 3 free agent options, and I've got 3 draft options who I want to take a look at and start to get excited about, because I do think that there's a decent likelihood the 49ers go make another addition at wide receiver. So for the free agents, I think you got to start with George Pickens. He is the best receiver on the market. I believe he's second in the NFL in receiving yards this year for the Dallas Cowboys. And Pickens is a bit of a character, all right? If you didn't like the Aiyuk antics, you're probably not going to like George Pickens a whole lot. But he is a complete freak athlete with all the talent in the world. He's just an awesome player. He's really, really, really good. He's arguably playing better than CeeDee Lamb so far this year. And I think we're seeing peak George Pickens this year. And I think that's really, really exciting and would be a huge addition for the 49ers. But he's going to require some big money. This is going to be another $30 million a year contract. So if you're not ready to dish out that money once again, then definitely not going to be in the market for George Pickens. Now, 2 guys who are a little cheaper, who I've taken a look at, are Jalen Tolbert and Jalen Nailor. I always used to get these guys confused. I thought they were actually the same guy for a while, but then I realized So Jalen Tolbert plays for the Dallas Cowboys, and Jalen Nailor plays for the Minnesota Vikings. Both of them are in pretty similar situations. They're both wide receiver threes who are stuck behind some really talented wide receiver duos, right? Jalen Tolbert, of course, is playing behind George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb in Dallas. And Jalen Nailor is playing behind Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison in Minnesota. And all due respect to Tolbert and Nailor, they're not as good as those duos, right? And there's no shame in that. But I do think they're quite talented. And every time I watch these teams, they kind of flash. So I wonder if these guys are ready for a role increase. Both of them are 27. Both of them are unrestricted free agents. They could be some serious breakout candidates heading into next year if they end up in a good situation for them. And I think San Francisco could be a good situation for them. They'll have the opportunity to be the wide receiver too. If Juwan Jennings doesn't return, they'll step in and certainly have plenty of opportunities because you've got Jordan Watkins and you've got Jacob Cowing and you've got Kendrick Bourne and Demarcus Robinson. I mean, those are not guys who are keeping you from being a wide receiver too. And that's assuming that Ricky Pearsall is your wide receiver one, right? So I think these guys could be had on a discount for sure. I think they are probably looking to leave their current teams, and I think they are talented enough to be some real breakout candidates. So George Pickens would be the big name free agent ad, but some cheaper potential flyer guys I like are Jalen Tolbert and Jalen Nailor. Now let's look to the draft, and I've got three guys here who will probably go in the first two rounds. I could see all three of these guys going in round one. I could see a couple of them going in round two. Hard to say at this point, still only November. But I've got to start with my guy, Makai Lemon from USC. Anyone who's heard me talk about the draft knows that I am in love with Makai Lemon. He's one of my favorite players in the entire class so far. He's a finalist for the Biletnikoff Award, along with Jeremiah Smith and Skylar Bell from UConn. Shout out to Sky Bell. Roll Rhinos, go Taft. Former high school colleague of mine. Shout out to Sky. And Lemon's had an awesome season, man. He's fantastic. He's kind of, shades of like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jackson Smith and Jigba, maybe Khalil Shakir for a less, a lower ceiling comparison. He's a very smooth and shifty route runner. He's got a compact body. He's, 5'11", 200 or something. He catches everything. Everything, man. His hands are unbelievable. Really, really good. He's shifty. He's smooth. He's got nice yards after catch ability. He's my favorite wide receiver in this class. I think he is a monster, and I think he could be a real star in the NFL. This is kind of like when the Dallas Cowboys went out and got CeeDee Lamb. It's like maybe wide receiver isn't your biggest need, but when there's a guy on the board who you think could be a real alpha number one type of player, you go out and get him. And to me, that's Makai Lemon. That's Makai Lemon for sure. But Makai Lemon could be off the board by the time the 49ers pick, especially if they make the playoffs. So I want to talk about two other guys. First up, Denzel Boston from Washington. Much different style of player. He's a big body. He's like 6'4", huge catch radius, got the long arms. He's awesome catching through contact. And for his size, he gets pretty open as well. He's not facing, the best competition in the world, but he's playing in the, Big Ten. He's playing pretty well. And with Boston, I see shades of like a Drake London, T. Higgins, maybe a Cortland Sutton, those bigger body guys who are able to make plays with their hands more so than their explosive speed or anything like that. Now, I don't think Boston is the athlete that a Drake London is, but he could be certainly like a 70% of Drake London. I think Boston has some pretty nice potential. And he's made some circus catches too. I mean, you throw him that ball, if it's anywhere even close to accurate, he's probably bringing it down. And now the last guy I want to talk about, KC Concepcion from Texas A&M. Concepcion is really exciting to watch. He's got that gadget sort of versatility. He's got wicked long speed. He really has an extra gear. I think he will be flirting with the 4.3s, certainly in the 40-yard dash when the NFL Combine rolls around. He's small, for sure. He's got that. He's a small, speedy guy, but he is a dog. He's feisty, and he's got a little muscle to him. He's got the mentality, kind of like a Steve Smith, sort of angry runner. He's not afraid of contact, certainly not. And he's also a return weapon. He had a punt return for a touchdown this year for Texas A&M. I think he is a total Shanahan type. I think Shanahan's going to love this guy. He gives me, Jaden Reed vibes, maybe a young Deebo Samuel, not the Deebo of the, offensive player of the year Deebo, but before that, right? Where you could just put him on a slant and he'll be gone, right? Jaden Reed is like that too. Curtis Samuel, if you want a lower ceiling comp as well. I really like Concepcion. I think he'd be an awesome fit in this 49ers offense. So those are my 6 candidates at wide receiver: George Pickens, Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Naylor in free agency, and then Mekhi Lemon, Denzel Boston, and KC Concepcion in the draft. Who do you think the 49ers should go and get to replace Brandon Aiyuk? And of course, what do you think of this Aiyuk saga as a whole? Do you think he'll play another game for the 49ers? Leave a comment down below with your thoughts. And of course, let me know if you enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment, leave a like, and let me know if there's any topics that you'd like to see me cover. Thank you all for watching, and subscribe for 49ers videos 5 days a week. I'm Brady Grustas at GrustasBrady on X. This has been Niners Now, and I'll see you tomorrow.